The man behind the wheel is 100 years old. What's more amazing is what he does here, at the office.
30-year term.
Ted Kraus is a superstar insurance agent for AXA Equitable, still selling in his second century. He may just be the oldest man selling insurance, or anything for that matter, on the planet. Kraus has sold insurance to grandparents, their children, and their children's children.
I always try to do what's best for the client.
Ted Kraus is in business with his 47-year-old grandson, Eric, who still works in his shadow.
Does he do more business than you?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. I'm not ashamed to say that. He is a high producer.
Ted is in his 64th year as an insurance salesman. After a long career as a chicken farmer, insurance, he found, was far more profitable. Kraus has about 1,000 clients to whom he also sells annuities, which he argues are an especially good investment in these days of stock market volatility.
Some years we write $2 million, some years we write $1 million, but this year I might write $3 million.
Not only does Ted drive to the office and put in time there every day, he also comes to the Y for a midday swim. Ted has cut back his swimming to 6 laps a day, yet he maintains his daily routine of exercise in the pool and at the office, study, and prayer at his synagogue.
This morning, Rabbi said, "You want to read Torah?" I said, "Sure."
All of which, he says, account for his longevity.
Do you ever think about retiring?
No, I'll never retire. I don't know what my clients will do when I die because they really need me.
Alan Chernoff, CNN, Vineland, New Jersey.
This is my favorite domestic caviar, and it's produced in Sarasota, Florida.
At 26 years old, Brett Ottolenghi has all but cornered the market on rare food in Sin City.
Several air cargo shipments come in each day from around the world, and we pick them up and deliver right to the strip.
From truffles to caviar and saffron, Ottolenghi scours the planet for the rarest of ingredients to entice Michelin star chefs in Vegas's top restaurants.
Daruma is the type of wasabi. This is coming from Oregon.
That is delicious.
This is an Iberico de Bellota, jamón Iberico de Bellota. So this is the Spanish pig that's been raised partly in the wild eating acorns.
Good, how are you? Good to see you. That's what I love with bread, because all the time you get something new. He's bringing it at a restaurant and he showed me, he explained me where is it from, and we have the same passion.
This is the best Wagyu beef that's produced outside of Japan currently. We currently sell this at $72 a pound. About 95% of our business is with approximately 170 restaurants across the Las Vegas Strip.
High rollers and star chefs mean demand around the clock, even for the strangest of ingredients.
This is freeze-dried phytoplankton.
But getting these delicacies across the border can be tricky.
There's not a lot of precedence, so we have to figure it out with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, USDA, FDA.
When you came here to Vegas at 19 years old, there's a lot of competition doing what you do. How did you get your foot in the door? How did you get meetings even with these chefs?
I started off by getting in one shipment of fresh white truffles from Italy, and they were beautiful. They were the size of sweet potatoes. They're huge. I would load up a small box, jump on the bus, take it into the strip, and I got very quick at walking the whole strip. The chefs would say, "I'm really excited to see what you have. I don't actually use truffles, but maybe next time you come around, can you bring this ingredient with you, or can you look into this ingredient for me?"
Ottolenghi has been doing this half his life, literally.
For me, it started in truffles. I started my company when I was 13, and it was called the Truffle Market. It was a small website.
From his Pennsylvania childhood home to the midst of the desert, he's never taken a loan, slowly growing his business from its own profit. Why Vegas?
I could see that there was a market emerging here in Vegas with high-end restaurants, and I really wanted to be a part of that and help the chefs. I could see that this was a desert, and there was probably going to be a lack of more exotic ingredients.
Whole agenda within a large company. So I turned it back over and wrote, "I'm out of here in 2 weeks. I'm buying a boat," and walked out. My name is Patrick Harris. I'm the captain of the sailing yacht Ventura. I recently turned 60 years old, and I'm the happiest man on the planet. I was working for Citicorp, nice office, 399 Park Avenue, apartment on the Upper East Side. And it didn't take very long until I gradually had a sense of dissatisfaction with working inside of a building. I got a phone call from a friend of a friend who said, "You like old wrecked wooden stinky rotten boats? Have I got one for you?" I looked at it. It was all rotted. I could hear the water sloshing back and forth inside the boat, not the outside, but the inside of the boat. So, no, this boat's got a lot of work ahead of itself. That was a Saturday. I bought it on a Monday. The rationalization that occurred over the weekend was that if I fail, I can always go back to work in a real job in the so-called real world. But that was 24 years ago. I never realized how good of a life it was going to be. I had an idea that yes, you can make money with a boat and you make a living out of it, but I never realized the sense of satisfaction that I was going to get out of it. There's this sensation that comes over everybody, literally everybody. And for New Yorkers, this is a whole different experience. There's no car honking, there's no siren blowing, there's no engine, and there's this absolute sensation that everybody's uplifted from it. The great sense inside of what it's like to give a positive experience and positive memories to people week after week, month after month, year after year. And I don't think I could ever be happier than I am now.
Ordinary tourists. This is the desert home from home for astronomers hunting for the most mysterious and elusive objects in the universe.
It's very exciting to be out here in the desert, and what we are actually doing here is we are looking for a very particular object in our own galaxy. We're looking for a black hole.
To locate this black hole, astronomers will be using one of the most powerful telescopes ever built. The VLT, the Very Large Telescope. This, quite simply, is the most advanced optical instrument ever constructed. The VLT is made up of 4 main telescopes. Each contains identical glass ceramic mirrors, the largest ever manufactured. This is what it takes to spot a black hole. But it's not going to be easy, even with the VLT. A black hole, the dense remains of a dead star, has such a strong gravitational pull that nothing can escape, even light.
A black hole collects all the light, so from a certain distance from the black hole, no light can escape anymore. So in that sense, you cannot observe a black hole because it's black.
To locate it, astronomers will be searching for clues in infrared light.
I'm the telescope manager for the James Webb Space Telescope, which is NASA's next flagship space mission. There's a broad spectrum of things that a telescope manager does. Everything from type on the computer, talk on the phone to go to meetings, to directing a team of people who are literally building what is arguably the greatest telescope humans have ever built, maybe the greatest science instrument that humans have ever built. It's really intended to look at the very beginning of time. Well, basically, I've always been interested in science and astronomy in particular. I actually have a PhD in physics, which is sort of a general purpose background and enables a person to pretty much do most technical jobs. This telescope is about 6.5 meters in diameter. Hubble is 2.4 meters in diameter. It can see things that are about 100 times fainter And looking at the same object, it takes about 1/100th the amount of time to take a picture of an object with James Webb as it does with the Hubble Space Telescope. It's got a large mirror, a big so-called primary mirror. It's about 6.5 meters in diameter, so that's like 20 feet. It's actually made up of 18 individual hexagonal-shaped mirrors. And what really makes this a technical challenge is the fact that it operates at about 40 degrees above absolute zero. So that's like, you know, in Fahrenheit, that's like 450 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. It has this thing called a sun shield. And the sun shield is basically like a giant umbrella, and it's huge. It's about the size of a tennis court. And so, you know, another unique challenge of this particular telescope is that all of this giant thing needs to fold up into a rocket cone. You know, so when it deploys, it looks like some giant transformer, you know, that you'd see in a movie. Yeah, the most difficult part of this job probably is the schedule pressure. You know, we're building all of this new technology that people have never done so before, and astronomers are very anxious to get this thing up in space where they can use it, and so we're under a tremendous amount of pressure to get these things done as quickly as possible.
Education system is predicated on the idea of academic ability, and there's a reason. The whole system was invented around the world. There were no public systems of education really before the 19th century. They all came into being to meet the needs of industrialism. So the hierarchy is rooted on two ideas. Number one, that the most useful subjects for work are at the top. So you were probably steered benignly away from things at school when you were a kid, things you liked, on the grounds you would never get a job doing that. Is that right? Don't do music, you're not going to be a musician. Don't do art, you won't be an artist. Benign advice. Now, profoundly mistaken. The whole world is engulfed in a revolution. And the second is academic ability, which has really come to dominate our view of intelligence because the universities designed the system in their image. If you think of it, the whole system of public education around the world is a protracted process of university entrance. And the consequence is that many highly talented, brilliant, creative people think they're not, because the thing they were good at school wasn't valued or was actually stigmatized. And I think we can't afford to go on that way. In the next 30 years, according to UNESCO, more people worldwide will be graduating through education than since the beginning of history. More people. And it's the combination of all the things we've talked about, technology and its transformational effect on work, and demography and the huge explosion in population. Suddenly, degrees aren't worth anything. Isn't that true? When I was a student, if you had a degree, you had a job. If you didn't have a job, it's because you didn't want one. And I didn't want one, frankly, so... but now, kids with degrees are often heading home to carry on playing video games. Because you need an MA, where the previous job required a BA, and now you need a PhD for the other. It's a process of academic inflation, and it indicates the whole structure of education is shifting beneath our feet. We need to radically rethink our view of intelligence. We know three things about intelligence. One, it's diverse.
And I feel it's the great role of a teacher. You know, when I was saying moving to a different metaphor, an organic metaphor, I think it's going from an industrial metaphor to back to an agricultural one. Because if you think of it, you know, a great gardener, great farmer, depends upon plants growing under their care. Otherwise, they're out of business. But the irony is that every farmer and gardener knows that you cannot make a plant grow. You cannot do that. You know, I mean, you don't stick the roots on and paint the petals and attach the leaves. You know, the plant grows itself. What you do is provide the conditions for growth. And great farmers know what the conditions are and bad ones don't. Great teachers know what the conditions of growth are and bad ones don't. And with bad teaching, all this potential of students shrivels in the face of it. With great teaching, all this stuff starts to flourish and to flower. And that, to me, is the great gift of teaching, you know, to recognize that growth is possible at any time. Like in Death Valley, you know, in the most deathless place on earth, there's life there, if you know what the conditions are. And the great challenge for teaching, I think, is not just to know your discipline, but to know your students, and to know what the pedagogical regime is that will make them flourish and become the best thing they can be.